Andre, I mean, Donald Trump has said, look, he'll never lie, never, you know, but to say that African-American communities are worse than they have ever
and they probably are. They're probably less safe than they've ever been in the history of this country. Have probably more murders
Andre, do you know about lynchings?
Than there've ever been. And so, again, it's easy.
We're talking about ever in the United States, slavery, segregation. I mean,
the death rate's probably higher now in those urban communities than it's ever been.
Jeffrey Lord, do you believe that?
Well, certainly what's going on in Chicago at the moment is not good. But
African American communities are worse than they have ever been.
I think when you've got the murder rate you've got in the city of Chicago. I mean, what was the murder rate for African Americans?
But a black person could not walk down the street and look at in some communities in America, a black person could not walk down the street and look at a white person in the eye witad having great risk of their life.
But now they can't do it with each other.
No, wait a minute, you guys. Wait a minute. I just have to say this because Anderson just said something as if it's past, right? That a black man couldn't look a white person in the eye. If we talk about Terrence Crutcher, who is the black man who just lost his life, hands up with a police officer, one who's an entity that is supposed to protect and serve. It's not just black people who are killing each other, and I want to be clear about this. White people kill each other too. You kill people who you are in proximity to. That is just a fact.
Americans kill each other.
That's true. And so, and you were just talking about black Americans. I'm telling you about an issue of excessive force and excessive violence with black people and men and women in uniform. That is also a problem. So I just think that you all, I'm asking you now as your friend, when we go off air, please utilize facts when you bring up these points about how dangerous it is for black people in this country right now.
I mean, crime rates nationwide have gone down, since the 1990s, during the crack epidemic. I mean, there are, to say that it's worse than it has ever been is just factually incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's exaggerating here to some degree, but to make a point, things are not satisfactory. It's not good enough that the city of Detroit is in the shape.
Right, but you can make that point without making up a fact.
Anderson, look, I mean, I think we have to keep getting back to why. I mean, you started to bring this up, but you left out one key thing: Jim Crow and slavery and all the things that got us here. Who was responsible for that?
Racism was responsible. I want to wait, Jeffrey, could you say this? Anderson doesn't like when we all talk at the same time, so let me respond to you, Jeffrey.
And then I will respond.
That's fine. It's up to him. He's the moderator. I guess what I would say to you is this. You continue to blame the Democratic Party for something that is a vestige of slavery in this country. It is called racism. We can continue
racism for the Democratic Party.
Oppressive racism for white people against people of color, and then that other that your candidate continues to prey on. This, we have to acknowledge what that is. Racism is bipartisan. It is a nonpartisan problem. Jeffrey, stop putting it at the feet of Democrats.
When President Obama said just the other night to the Congressional Black Caucus.
I was there.
Okay, and did he not say, if you don't, meaning the black community, vote for Hillary Clinton, you will have insulted me? What did he say?
That's not what he said. He said, if this community does not turn out and vote, this will be an insult to my legacy.
But I want to bring.
And I'm happy to give you
I want to bring John in here. Donald Trump only has 3% of the black vote, according to the latest polling. If his message is, what the hell do you have to lose? If that's failing to resonate, according to the polls, how will this statement improve that standing, or can it?
Well, as you listen to Angela speak, there's no question the Clinton campaign believes what Donald Trump says on this issue. And forgive my language, but I think part of the problem is, look, we should applaud. We should applaud any candidate who wants to go into a community and compete for its votes. And one of the problems we've had in American politics for the last 20-plus years is that Republicans have not gone into the African community in a sustained way. Some have, in a sustained way, and competed. However, you hear Angela, and you hear from a lot of Democrats, is Donald Trump views these issues as, forgive the language, but as black and white issues. And they're not. He didn't talk like Jeffrey just did. Donald Trump doesn't say, we have a huge problem in Chicago. I'd like to get to understand it better. I'd like to help if I'm president. In Detroit, you had economic exodus of jobs. If I'm president, I'd like to help. He talks about this best and worst, and Stark and this, and Democrats abandoned you. And he also doesn't acknowledge, Anderson, in North Carolina, there is a thriving African-American middle class. In Maryland, in many places across the country, I don't want to overgeneralize, but in that state where the African-American vote is so key, look in the Charlotte area, in the Charlotte suburbs, go up to the Research Triangle in Raleigh-Durham. There are doctors and lawyers and researchers and professionals who happen to be African-Americans who are critical to the vote in that state, and some of them are open to Republicans on taxes and spending and smaller government issues. But it's the language he uses, I think, that gets him into the trouble. Again, we should applaud the effort, but I think that he needs to spend more time in the community because he'll learn the language better.